to all the participants. We have nearly 33 countries participants registered, and they are online. And then now, next speaker is Mr. Bhaskar Rao from UAE. So we welcome you, sir. Briefly about Bhaskar Rao. Bhaskar Rao is situated in United Arab Emirates, and he is into hydroponics cultivation in GCC since 2000. From 1994 until 2000, Bhaskar was in India working as agronomist in various locations. He brings immense knowledge and experience in developing and managing farms in the Middle East. I know Middle East working is very, very tough. In cultivation of all major crops in controlled environments, in open fields too, it's a challenging job. Today, he will be sharing his thoughts on cultivation of thyme in hydroponics. Sir, please start your presentation, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you so much. It's a privilege and I'm honored to be on a platform where we have renowned personalities like Dr. Arun and Professor Saab, yourself, Mrs. Mamta, and Mr. Sachin. It's a great opportunity for me to share the platform. Thank you so much, and thank you to the organizers and also to Sri Venkateswara University. The man behind all this, Professor Sudarshanam Garu. Really appreciate your passion and your efforts to bring this to the public platform. So I'll start sharing my screen now, and we will go ahead with the presentation, sir. Yeah. The topic I've chosen today is cultivation practices of one particular medicinal plant called thyme in passive hydroponic systems. Usually what happens is people consider medicinal plants as something which is coming from the Ayurveda or the Siddha, very old type of plants and very difficult or very conservative to some local conditions of growing. But I would like to, break this myth down by saying that, yes, we could do medicinal plants. I'm not talking of medicinal plants which are directly going into the pharmaceutical industry for preparation of medicines. Of course, even these go in, but those medicinal plants which could help us in day-to-day consumption as a part of our cuisine, as a part of our culinary system. So these particularly like, thyme, rosemary, sage, oregano, mint, basil, or you can name a few others like aloe vera. These are the plants that could be grown at urban level and also, of course, in the commercial level, so that their importance, the importance of their alkaloids or their essential oils that are contained in these medicinal plants will bring immense help to the body of the human being, and also it will help in contributing when you're growing it commercially to the benefit of the pharmaceutical industry, thus helping the health of mankind. So before we start that, I just would like to go through some sort of the market analysis of medicinal plants in general. See the market size and trends. Global herbal medicine market is expected to reach around US $411 billion by the year 2026. Okay, in another 3 years, 4 years time, and it is expected to grow at a CAGR, a cumulative annual growth will be 8.5% between 2020 to 2030. So you can just imagine the growth at which it is moving. Apart from that, when you talk of the market for medicinal plants in India, India stands at around 4.2 billion, that is 56.6 million US dollars, rupees 4.2 billion in 2019, and it is expected to increase at CAGR of 38.5%. Huge jump from the international market to around 14 billion rupees by 2026. And I think the major contributor is a blessing in disguise called the corona, hopefully. So the medicinal market, especially for traditional medicinal market, to improve health or to improve immunity and so many diseases or so many ailments that could be cured by these medicinal plants. So that is the market size, and that is the trend which we can expect in India. Apart from the world medicinal market. So we always say that there is a saying by Socrates which says that let thy food be thy medicine. Okay, the food we eat is the medicine for our health. It's not the external medicine which are synthetically manufactured. So let's try to look into that aspect. The WHO estimates that 80% of the population of some Asian and African countries presently use herbal medicine for some aspect of primary health care. When I talk of this primary health care, there's basically prenatal and postnatal. Usually in all such developing countries, it is the prenatal or the postnatal care which usually considers medicinal plants usage. I think in every household we have a few elderly people, grandmothers, who usually insist on application of herbal medicines during the early stages of every child. Food is a major source of serving the nutritional need, of course, but with growing modernization, some traditional ways are being given up. I'm talking to you about the changes in the lifestyle and the pattern of urbanization of the modern civilization. So efforts to monitor and regulate traditional herbal medicines are underway, and it's being done in a big way all over the world, and especially in India. Ayurveda, that is the traditional Indian medicine, remains the most ancient, yet it is a living tradition. So my topic today, let's get into the plant physiology of thyme. The plant morphology is very important to understand the growing parameters, how to grow, how to understand the alkaloids or the essential oils that are contained in this thyme. So that will help us in understanding the plant physiology as well. It's the common name Thymus vulgaris, scientific name Thymus vulgaris. Okay, it's called ajwain in Hindi for the people of Indian origin to understand better. Thyme is a small perennial shrub. It's a sub-shrub actually, very small, 30 to 40 centimeter height. Okay, it is semi-evergreen, like a ground cover. It has both horizontal and upright habits. It could be grown. It has both these characters. Okay, and the stem becomes woody with age. So you do have woody stems below. Thyme leaves are very small, usually 2.5 to 5 mm in length. You could see the picture there. This is a thyme in my farm, which I'm growing. And the finger there is mine, you can see. Depending on the cultivar, with each species having a slightly different scent. Scent, I mean the aroma. Thymus vulgaris leaves, this particular thyme you can see on your screen, okay, are oval to oblong in shape and somewhat fleshy. They are a little fleshy, thick. Leaves are almost stalkless, there is no stalk, with margins that are curved inwards, and they are highly aromatic. The fragrance of its leaves is the result of an essential oil. We will discuss about the essential oil later on, which gives its flavoring value for culinary purposes and is the source of its medicinal properties. I again stress the word culinary purposes because these medicinal herbs, usually we use them at home, we garnish them in our foods, or we make concoctions and decoctions of that and drink it on a regular basis. It could be rosemary or thyme or sage or oregano. They are used as dressings on your pastas, on your pizzas, for the modern day food, and also for pastries. So these are basically used for culinary purposes and of course also medicinal purposes. Now, going back to the morphology of the flower, the flowers terminate the branches in whorls. Whorls means in covering, in layers. It's either blue or purple or white, blue to purple in color or white in color. The flower is, for those who are interested in botany and understanding the morphology, I would like to stress a few points here. Flower is bilaterally symmetrical. There are 5 petals and sepals in the flower. So the petals or the sepals are fused into a cup or a tube, and there are 4 stamens in it. The fruit is dry, but does not split open when ripe. The seeds are very round and very, very small in size. They are very inconspicuous, and they retain their germinating power for 3 years. Just imagine the seed can germinate even after 3 years of dormancy. That's the power of the seed. Now, getting back to the main purpose of today's webinar, today's talk, is the cultivation. There could be various types of cultivation being done by various organizations or various growers or various companies. But after great work on these herbs from the last 2 decades, I've come down to this conclusion that the cultivation of most of the medicinal plants could be done in a passive hydroponic system. When I talk of passive hydroponic systems, I mean a system whereby water is not used as a grow media. A substrate, an inert media, is used as a grow media. In this case, we are using coco peat as a grow media. We'll come to the grow media in the next slides. So basically, these are usually grown in protected cultivation or in climate controlled greenhouses, depending upon the location or the area, depending upon the latitude where you're growing. It could be grown in polyhouses or in tunnels or even in open spaces, depending upon the climatic conditions, of course. The polyhouse, the land inside the polyhouse should be given a nice gradient for the collection of drainage water. There should be always a slope maintained. Okay. We have a grow bed. Here you can see a grow bed on the next on the picture. Okay. It is a 1 meter wide bed, and it is the best for commercial purposes. It is 1 meter wide, 20 centimeter depth. It is a grow trough, which is usually available in the market. At the bottom, we have placed gravel, pebbles, small rocks, 1 centimeter gray gravel or black gravel, whatever is available, 1 centimeter in size. Okay, it is put below 1 inch thick. This helps in the drainage. So 1 inch thick is to be placed below the bed. Okay, this helps in drainage because the gradient is there. And above this gravel, an insect net, a net which is used to cover your net houses, that similar net is placed inside so that the coco peat and perlite mixture doesn't get into your drainage system, into your drainage system, because these are closed circuit. On this is placed your coco peat perlite mix, which is spread evenly, and the fixed drip lines, that is a drip line, dripper to dripper distance will be 20 centimeter. It's 8 LPH, are laid at 30 centimeter spacing. So between the drip lines, there is 30 centimeter spacing because it's a 1 meter bed. We're talking of grow media. The best combination of a grow media is using coco peat 70%, which is coconut husk, which is powdered. It is inert material. Of course, it has to be treated well before use. It has to have very low EC, and it is readily available in India, elsewhere also, even in neighboring countries. Plus, it is biodegradable. It is mixed with perlite. Perlite is nothing but a volcanic material which is popped up. It helps in aeration, also retention of moisture. It helps in coco peat not to clod too much. Coco peat helps in retention of the moisture. Then we do the sowing in these beds. You can see the beds there on the screen. Sowing is done by broadcasting of seeds for thyme. Thyme sowing is best done by broadcasting because the seeds are so very minute that you cannot individually grow them in your nursery or in ProTrade in your growing trays. Sow them, crib the surface wet by additional use of a hose pipe until you have the seed germinated. Okay, just you have to do a showering of extra water from on the top. So the similar conditions for oregano and thyme could be done. You know, for sage and rosemary and basil, you need to raise the seedlings. Okay? Mint could be propagated vegetatively from cuttings, which is very simple. Apart from these systems of growing, you know, we have some other system of growing which could be grown in grow pots or in Dutch buckets or in foam buckets or in any sort of structure that could hold your grow media. It could be even your organic manure, or it could be your potting soil. It could be coco peat perlite mixture if you want to do it in hydroponics. So the grow media is coco peat perlite in this case. So when I talk of yields, so under irrigation, the thyme will yield around 15 tons of plant material per hectare per annum at an oil recovery rate of 0.5 to 1%. It is 75 to 150 kg per hectare per annum. Under dryland conditions, of course, it's very different. And in hydroponics, this is my experiments, and this is the result which I've got all these years. Is hydroponics, we can harvest 4 to 5 kg per square meter per harvest, and you could repeat harvest every 3 weeks, because this is a hardy plant. It is semi-perennial. It could live for around 4 to 6 years. So you could keep on repeating your harvest every 3 to 4 weeks. 3 weeks is the best time for hydroponics if you're doing it in controlled environment agriculture. Let's talk of the growing parameters. See, the beds are being filled up by the coco peat perlite mixture. The seeds, they sprout within 14 to 20 days, and they should be maintained at a degree of 21 degrees Celsius optimally for sprouting. Direct sowing into the grow trough or pot containing blend of coco peat with perlite, 75 to 25%. Okay, it's a direct sowing. It needs full sun. It is sun-loving crop. pH range is between 5.5 to 7. It could be little towards the basic. Okay. EC is very low, electrical conductivity. It's a very low feeder. So the maximum it would take in peak harvest would be 1.6, and an average of 0.8 is okay for its growth. Normal fertilization is okay with nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium blends that are available, that are readily available in the market. So during the vegetative phase, it's always better to use more of N, water-soluble fertilizer I'm talking about. So nitrogen should be a little high, like you would take a combination basically of 28 is to 14 is to 14 plus TE, which is trace elements. Okay. So 28, 14, 14 plus trace elements combination is available in the market, water soluble. So you could use that to feed your crops. And this is a closed circuit. Okay. So when you're talking of a closed circuit crop, you have to collect the drainage. There is a slope given to the bed. So you collect the drainage, bring it back to your reservoir, check for its pH and EC, balance it out, and send it back again to the grow troughs. I will quickly rush through the chemical content. Thyme oil extract contains thymol. Okay, there are so many derivatives, p-cyanamine and isomeric. This all the jargon. I just don't want to involve a lot of the words here in jargon, terpentine and all that. These are the major components. And thymol. Thymol is the basic component of Thymus vulgaris, which is antibacterial, antifungal, and antioxidant in nature. There are lots of researches being conducted in all over the world regarding the content of thymol when grown hydroponically. The University of Minnesota, you can check them out in on the Google. Conducted hydroponically grown herbs have 20 to 40% greater amount of oils when compared to herbs that are grown in conventional fields. This is basically because you are making a recipe to the crop. You are giving it tailor-made feed, giving it optimal conditions of growth, and that the trigger that helps in producing more essential oils is basically the correct blend of nutrients given at the proper timing. Okay. And the proper conditions of growth. It could be pH, it could be EC, it could be control environment conditions, just like the climate control, temperature, humidity. All these factors enhance the thymol content of thyme, and also, of course, the content of all other medicinal plants when grown hydroponically. I believe my other speakers would be explaining more detailed about the chemical content of any medicinal plant when grown hydroponically. They are also doing it practically, so they would be having more information to share. There are various uses of thyme. Thyme is used against bronchitis, cough, whooping cough, which is very common bronchitis, sore throat, arthritis, upset stomach pain. It is used as a decoction for when having stomach pains. There is having some sort of bedwetting or a movement disorder in children. You can just go through all this. The basic thing is it is also used against bacteria. Staphylococcus and Salmonella is well controlled by these. It has got a very good ability to increase your immune system, especially to fight against fungal infections. It is also prescribed for asthma, hay fever, and to treat worms in children, basically issues with the gut. It's also useful for ringworms, athlete's foot, other fungal infections, as well as scabies and lice. It's also used in dermatology very widely. It is used in most of the dermatology medications, and apart from digestive medications in the pharmaceutical industry. Apart from, of course, my main concern of culinary purposes. So that's the uses of thyme in a nutshell. So when I'm talking of the utilities of thyme, let's just go across this raw food pyramid. You could see, medicinal foods are to be eaten sparingly. This medicinal food comes in the top of the raw food pyramid, which includes, seaweeds, nutritional yeast, which are all medicinal in nature. Seaweeds also herbs. Herbs includes all the medicinal plants. Most of the medicinal plants, 99% are all medicinal plants. Microgreens, and of course, juicing grasses like, you have your barley grass, wheat grass, all sorts of other grasses. And of course, microgreens, which is basically a very different concept and aspect of hydroponic farming. So you could see a pot containing oregano, it contains thyme, it contains sage, and it contains rosemary. So this is a pot very essential for every home or every location, whereby you have all this readily available for your day-to-day health maintenance and repairs of your normal issues or small ailments at home. I was just trying to show you this pot which contains all these beautiful herbs there. And they are being sold in the local market here in the GCC. And it's selling very briskly. So when we talk of, we have grown the crop, now we need to talk about how to prune, how do you harvest, how do you pack. Pruning is the best way to harvest thyme. There is nothing called a pruning separately. When you're harvesting, you do the pruning automatically. It allows you to carefully harvest the plant without killing. So there is nothing called a pruning agronomic activity and then a harvesting activity. You need to harvest the plant in such a way that it helps the plant to grow again more vigorously without killing the plant. So you need to leave a little of space from below, at least 3 to 4 inches from the below of the growing tip. I mean from the base, from the base, and then you harvest it. And if the plant becomes woody, you just have to keep harvesting the young stems from the woody part. Regular pruning is very essential. Like every 3 weeks, you have the crop ready. Every 21 days to 24 days, you have the crop ready. So you need to harvest the crop. If you also do not have use of the crop, you have to harvest it and keep it and dry it and keep it. Because if you don't harvest, the stems will become woody and it will not be producing new leaves and new stems. So even if you are not having any market or you're not using them at home, you need to keep on harvesting the thyme crop. And cutting off the old and woody stems of the thyme is recommended if you want to keep your plant healthier and bushier. So when the plant becomes very bushy and very woody and old, just need to do some slight trimming and pruning of these woody ones so that you get a healthier and bushier, newer growth. And when we talk of packaging, there are various methods of packaging thyme, fresh thyme. I'm concentrating only on fresh thyme. Drying of thyme is a completely different phenomenon, a different aspect of the medicinal plant industry. Fresh thyme is consumed in a big way all over the world, especially in the Middle East and Mediterranean countries and of course Europe. It is packed as 1 kilogram. You could see here. It is packed in a carton box which has holes. It is packed 1 kilogram of thyme or rosemary or sage or whatever crop, basically basil also. So thyme, let us concentrate on thyme. It is packed in 1 kilos. It is having a breathable plastic which is put inside this carton box, and it is covered. Packing is done as per market demands. Okay, in general, 50 to 60 grams is packed in a clamshell container. You could see a clamshell container here. This is a container whereby 50 to 60 grams of thyme is packed. Okay, or it could be packed even in bunches. The packing here is from my farm in Bahrain. Okay, it's a typical concept of packing all the herbs. Even the flown-in products from all over Europe come in this type of format. Also, another very significant method of selling this crop or any other herb is the live herb in pots, which is kept on the supermarket shelves. So this is a thyme potted plant. It comes in a sleeve. It is sold in the supermarket shelves. And this is one of the area of selling the crop directly as it is. So you could directly sow your seeds in these pots, keep them there, and as and when it is ready for harvest, you could put it onto the shelves. So the client takes it home and keeps harvesting from that crop from his windowsill. And the newest and the best, most advanced trend is placing live herb pots on the dining table of high-end fine dining restaurants, where the chef directly comes to your table and garnishes your plate of the cuisine, whatever you have ordered, by pinching or cutting a few leaves and stems of either thyme or rosemary or oregano, whatever. He again spreads it all over your food. So you could see some pots, herb pots, in on the tables. It could be also near the salad counter. People usually have this near the salad counter, so that people could fill in their plates with salads and then take a few pinches of these herbs and garnish it. Before getting into other aspects and closing the webinar, I would like to take up a few queries which I have received. A few queries. So before I start the queries, in general, I've got a few queries here which indicate generally that how can you do these herbs in hydroponics? Is hydroponics growing material used like stones, or some very myths which I would want to basically clarify is that hydroponics basically is of two types of hydroponics, depending upon the method of cultivation or the system of cultivation. It is either solution culture or media culture. When you talk of solution culture, we use water as a grow media, which is the NFT or the DWC. You could see water. So what happens is nutrient-rich water is supplied to the root zone of the crops, and the crops absorb these nutrients to grow. So that is solution hydroponics, or actual hydroponics means water culture. Then we have something called that is active hydroponics, okay, which is very active. We have another one called passive hydroponics. Passive hydroponics uses media, uses a grow media. It could be coco peat, it could be perlite, it could be leca, those expanded clay balls. It could be pebbles, charcoal, depending upon the crop and the area where you're growing. So these usually hold the moisture and release them to the root zone. And the water that is supplied to these grow media, to this inert media, is also having nutrients in it. So it is fertigated with nutrients. So this is the two basic concepts of active hydroponics and passive hydroponics. And also I have a query regarding cultivation in naturally ventilated polyhouses. Yes, cultivation is possible. I've already explained you earlier also. it's possible in any area depending upon your local climatic conditions. If the temperatures are very high, if it is windy, if it's rainy, of course they will have a problem. It could be cultivated on your balconies, on your windowsills, naturally ventilated poly houses, of course climate controlled greenhouses, open conditions hydroponics method. Someone asked us a question on whether you could do hydroponics in open conditions. Yes, you could do hydroponics in open conditions. Most of the European countries, and also in the countries where the winters are not very harsh, you do hydroponic cultivation in open fields. You just put huge amount of media onto the grow troughs, and you could do it cultivation in open conditions. Apart from that, I have to give a mention. Someone asked me about aloe vera. Aloe vera is very easy, simple to grow for your balconies or also for commercial purposes, and it is suitable for hydroponics. It is very suitable for hydroponics. There was a very interesting question asked by one of our beloved members about saffron growing hydroponically. Yeah, I would like to request Professor Sudarshanam and the AP University, Venkateswara University, to we will surely conduct a webinar on cultivation of saffron hydroponically. This is a very big industry and is the talk of the town.
I'm gonna take upstairs.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
This is Professor Sudarshanam once again.
Yes.
Thank you for excellent talk and clarifying number of doubts from our audience. And then definitely we will organize part 2 of medicinal plants hydroponics, maybe coming months. Every month we are doing one webinar on urban farming, and your support is uncomparable. Your cooperation, coordination for making this event successful. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Welcome. My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much.